Good morning. This is Shelby Law with the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Saturday, July 30th, 2022. Fire potential impacts are shown here for the next few days. We have a few different impacts going on, some wind, some heat, and some thunderstorms. Starting with today, we have some gusty winds across much of western Idaho and into the northern tip of Nevada here. Pretty hot also across much of the northern Great Basin, highs over 100 degrees in western Idaho and western Nevada. And then some continued thunderstorm activity mainly over Utah and southern Nevada. These storms are all on the wet side, quite wet in some areas. On Sunday, the heat continues. Thunderstorms continue across the south. We'll see a bit of a decrease on Sunday in northern Utah, but we'll see some of that moisture moving further northward into western Nevada for some mix of wet and dry thunderstorms there on Sunday. And then on Monday, pretty good amount of moisture moves further northward into Nevada, which will increase the chance for wet thunderstorms across much of the state here, but maybe still a mix of wet and dry across far western and northwest Nevada, and then also into southern Idaho. We'll see that mix of wet and dry thunderstorms as the moisture moves northward. And then a chance for isolated and scattered storms in Utah on Monday. So a pretty big surge starting Monday of moisture up into the central and northern Great Basin. Yesterday, the storms continued mainly across the south. Once again, southern Utah, southern Nevada, seeing some heavy precipitation in some areas. And then some thunderstorm activity further north in Idaho, and a smattering there in eastern Nevada and northern Utah. Initial attack is holding steady with new fires popping up across many areas, eastern Idaho, Utah, and across much of Nevada, with the two ongoing team fires there, the Moose and then this one here in southern Utah. Precipitation for the past 14 days is shown here with the inches or amounts on the left and percent of average on the right. It's been a pretty wet couple of weeks across the southern Great Basin, especially southwest Utah and far southern Nevada, where we've had multiple storms and flash flooding and things like that. Further north, very dry. Idaho's been very dry. Western and central Nevada have been quite dry as well, and western Wyoming. ERCs are near record levels across southwest Idaho, where conditions have been dry and very hot. Same story here over the southern Sierra front, the higher elevations here. It's setting new historic records for the time of year, and we've been right at that maximum level for the past couple of months. So we'll see as we get some thunderstorms in there what kind of fire threat we have. This morning's satellite imagery is showing high pressure ridge in place over the Great Basin. For warm temperatures across the northern two-thirds. Temperatures are actually a little bit cooler across the south because of the storminess there, but very hot in western Nevada, or western and northern Nevada and western Idaho. Moisture is somewhat limited today to Utah and southern Nevada. So for this afternoon, we do have high risk issued for those hot and dry conditions with some light winds there, or some breezy winds there in western Nevada and up into northwest Nevada and up into western Idaho. Continued thunderstorm activity over southern Nevada and southern southeast Utah today. So temperatures for this afternoon, very warm, up to 105 in Boise, 103 down in Reno area, and some breezy winds also associated with or accompanying those hot temperatures. On Sunday, we begin to see things shift a bit with some moisture moving northward as the ridge kind of shifts around as well. So still very hot, but the moisture is going to move a little bit further northward into Nevada and westward into western Nevada. So we do have high risk issued for that increasing threat of thunderstorms as the moisture rotates around. Elsewhere, still dry in the north and still wet in eastern Utah and southern Great Basin. Minimum relative humidities are still pretty low across the north, but we do start to see them coming up there over the southern half of Nevada. Thunderstorm locations where we're expecting the thunderstorms to develop here on the right. We see that line moving further northward and moving into the Sierra Front area where we know conditions are very dry. So we do have that risk for thunderstorms or for new large fires as well. And then thunderstorms continuing over the higher elevations of Utah. On Monday, the moisture really increases and moves further northward. We'll start to see storms transitioning to wet on Monday, even further northward. We do have some high risk just for the far western periphery of that moisture here in northwest Nevada. Elsewhere, those storms will be turning wet, and we'll start to see some thunderstorms even up into southern Idaho possible by Monday. Monday, the wind gusts are shown on the left here. We're expecting winds to pop up really anywhere there are thunderstorm outflows, which could be across much of Nevada and Utah, and then some breezier winds there in western Idaho on Monday. And then if we look at where we're expecting the thunderstorms to develop on Monday, again, this is a shift from where we've seen it. The last week, thunderstorms have been limited to mostly the southern third of the basin. Starting on Monday, that moisture will move northward into northern Nevada and even into portions of southern Idaho. 3-day precip totals are shown here. Pretty high totals, really pretty juicy, especially for Nevada, set up into central Nevada, where they haven't seen storms recently, into northern Nevada, northern Utah, even southeast Idaho. Lighter amounts up here, but still an increase in relative humidities and such there. Further northward in the central Idaho mountains, thunderstorms will be more spotty, precipitation will be lighter, so definitely keeping an eye on any increased threat for thunderstorms and drier type thunderstorms, which could cause new fires as well. As we make our way into Tuesday, thunderstorms will continue. In fact, the air mass gets pretty moist up in Idaho. By Tuesday, we actually drop our dryness levels with some thunderstorms producing precipitation and higher relative humidities and some cooler temperatures up there as we head into midweek. That trend will continue into Wednesday with moisture over Idaho, a little bit of drying in Utah and Nevada. Now on Thursday, there's a trough coming into the Canadian border, tracking across the Canadian border, which will dry things out, move the moisture off to the east, and kind of decrease thunderstorm activity, especially across the north. And we see our dryness levels decreasing or increasing once again. More of the same for Friday, keeping that warm, dry westerly flow in place across the north, and then we're back to this pattern of thunderstorms just across southern Nevada and southern Utah. 7-day precip totals are shown here, showing that trend of moisture moving northward into Nevada and then continuing to rotate up into Idaho and western Wyoming. Eastern Idaho and western Wyoming should get a good amount of precip. This is what, a ½ inch to a quarter of an inch in these darker blues. So possibly a good event there. In the central Idaho mountains, we'll just have to see. The precipitation is going to be spotty, hit or miss, and could result in new initial attack there. The extended forecast for August 6th through the 12th, calling for below normal temperatures across the southwest and up into southern Great Basin, and above normal chances for precip really for the entire Great Basin. So we could see our large fire potential continuing to decrease over Utah and Nevada and even into southern Idaho as we have multiple days with wetter thunderstorms. And that concludes today's fire potential briefing. Please check back tomorrow for the latest updates.